Good morning. Good morning. I'm so glad that we're here. We're talking about the value of getting quiet and present in our bodies and with some of the energy of spring. We're going to start off therefore with some breath work, pranayama, compression, and expansion breathing. So please come to your back bodies. Begin to just investigate how your body's feeling. And just kind of move and wiggle, roll the head side to side. Oh, notice what kind of energy brought you here. How much buzzy, how much maybe foggy or not quite awake, over caffeinated, sore or achy perhaps from your endeavors yesterday. What's in your body and your being? And then know that whatever it is, it's just fine and it will be evolved through our yoga. That's the beautiful promise of yoga. You cannot come to the mat and leave the same in a good way. Please join me in a few sighing breaths. Inhaling slow, deep and wide. You can even have arm movements if you'd like. You could inhale and sweep overhead, reaching for the wall behind. Each exhale, giving in to gravity. Nothing to know, do, or accomplish. This is your yoga. Our main skill here is listening inward. It seems like it should be so easy, but it is a constant challenge and tool that we learn. I'm going to invite us to help with that, to add our 3 points of introversion. Inward gaze, as if you're looking behind the center of the forehead. Or if you notice that creates a bunch of eye tension, slide down to looking behind kind of the bridge of the nose or between the eyebrows. Lightly connect the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth. And lastly, inviting you to add ujjayi, great sounding breath. So we create that throat contraction that makes the whooshing sound of ocean waves or wind in the trees. And now we become breath watchers. We're so curious as the breath wave is rising and settling in our bodies. We ask, is there more? Or if you have another mantra that you like that keeps you present, breath connected, go for it. But that's my personal favorite tool. I keep asking, is there more? Is there more? Until there isn't. My hope is that you find that moment of non-breathing, that moment of pause where there's just stillness before the next breath wave. Let's do a few more rounds just to get connected with that quiet space. Notice if the mind wanders, that is its nature. Simply call it back, thereby strengthening your muscles for noticing. The next time you're exhaling, inviting you to bring belly to spine, spine towards floor, compression exhale. So you ideally keep emptying and engaging until that lower back connects with the floor. You feel your pelvis tilt up a little bit. Emptying, emptying, emptying. Is there more? When there's not, soften, allow yourself to be breathed. Is there more? We're going to continue in this way, and I'll offer little additional things to give your attention to, but at some point, you might have enough and you can just let my voice sort of join the music in the background. One of the key things that we get to practice in compression breathing is that while we're engaged deeply at the core, We want to invite and train ourselves to soften in the neck and the face. So I will often roll my head side to side. I'll check in with my tongue to make sure that the whole tongue didn't squish up into the roof of the mouth, but instead just the light connection, tip of the tongue, and the rest of it soft. Some people find it very difficult to pay attention this long to something this undramatic. Even though I would acknowledge there's a lot going on here, in that sense, dramatic. But I offer that awareness to just that in this society, there's so much going on that's very exciting all the time on our phones and around us, that it can be difficult to just be still or focused on small movements. But it really has value. So just please bring your attention to it again and again. Let's do another half a dozen rounds or so. If you would like to add more physical engagement, once you've engaged the belly to the spine, spine to floor, add rock pose. Hands squeezing into fists, shoulder heads anchor down, butt cheeks, thighs squeezing. You can even scrunch up your face. I always think of Wilma from the Flintstones when I do that. Like when she would go, ooh, and then steam would come out her ears. On your inhale, if you want to sweep arms overhead, go for it. During exhaling compression breath, rock pose, please try to have your feet flexed. That is going to tonify and engage our hamstrings, our quadriceps, all the muscles that really affect our knee joints and hips. So draw those toes back towards the kneecaps. You've got it, looking good. Again, rolling head side to side. If you'd like to add a sit-up motion, go for it. Last couple of rounds. It should feel like just such a natural extension of the rock pose and compression that your shoulders just want to lift from the floor. If that bothers your neck, please don't do it. Last one. The next time you soften and relax, see how heavy you can get. Notice if any part of you is holding on, invite it to give in. And we're going to come into our stomach pumping. So we're going to exhale and draw the belly down towards the spine. Emptying, emptying, emptying. And inhaling only after you've pumped as many times as you can. So it's emptying, pumping, drawing in, pressing out until you need to breathe. Yeah, we're padding this. All right, notice what is happening at your center body. This is so great, not only for digestive processes, but you're getting a massage along the spine. You're also creating circulation and extra blood flow. So just know that if you've been feeling kind of like heavy and stagnant, this can help. When you need to breathe, again, do inhaling slow, deep, and wide, really enjoying that nourishment. The next time you are complete and ready to move on, we're going to bring right knee into the belly, release wind pose. Both feet flex. So I'm bringing my right knee as tightly into my chest as I can, and then I'm pressing away through the left heel, which helps power down through the left thigh. And you can just breathe and relax, or add a little sit-up motion again if you'd like. We usually do those contractions on the exhale. The next time you're inhaling, extend that right leg to the sky, and you might take a moment and just point and flex and roll through the feet and ankles. On the exhale, root that low back and slowly descend that right leg as if you're trying to draw a stripe on the wall in front of you. And then melting, letting gravity be very powerful. Guiding the left knee into the belly, feet flexed, reaching away through that right heel, powering down through the right thigh. Bless you. Yeah, feel that big belly breath. I'm hoping you get to feel your belly expand against your thigh, thereby getting more massage. This side has the descending colon. On the right side, we have the ascending colon. Speaking of digestion. And sit up or no, of course, and at some point, inhaling, extend that left leg to the sky. I gotta tell you, I'm getting quite a hamstring stretch. I don't know what you did over the weekend, but notice how your body is feeling it. Exhale, root through that low back and slowly descend. Again, great place to practice neck softening. Maybe a soft smile on the face. And relax. You can add sighing breaths throughout our practice. We're going to come into bridge, and I think it can be very valuable here to add the block between the thighs. Don't feel that you have to, but I find that that gives me more integrity in the muscles that support the knees and hips. So feet are flat right underneath the knees. Block is come between the thighs, helping us stay aligned. And we always want to work our shoulder blades a little towards the spine before we rise up. On your exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor, squeeze that block a little bit and raise the hips. If you go up and you feel back discomfort, don't go as high. Even coming just an inch off the floor is going to give you great glute and thigh exercise. Inhale, descend one rib at a time. Fulfilling that inhale before once again exhaling, belly to spine, spine to floor, rising up, whatever height works for you. We'll be here for probably another half a dozen rounds. This is probably the most important pose that you could do daily. When we ignite this kind of strength and alignment in our center and lower body, it can absolutely change everything about how we walk, how good our balance is, how strong we are when we're trying to push a wheelbarrow of compost or whatever you're going to be getting up to. Is there more? Are you tightening in the neck at all? It's not necessary here, but it's easy to habitually do that. So check and see if you can soften again. We'll do one last round of bridge like this. And then we'll remove the block and just hug the knees to the belly. I love rocking just a little side to side. I find I get a nice kind of massage through the low back. Maybe let my head really go far. And we're going to return to bridge and add the little foot hover. This is kind of that add-on that further strengthens and balances our butt and thigh strength. So as you're ready, raising the hips, imagine your block between the thighs so that you're in good engagement and alignment. And then just slowly lifting one foot, hovering it about an inch off the floor. I find that if we go higher, sometimes we lose track of what's happening and the subtlety. Once you've got really good stability, if you want a little more intensity, straightening the leg extension as we call it, always keeping the thighs the same height as one another. And I had a physical therapist tell my sister who went in for some knee help that if he could only assign one exercise to human beings all over the world, this is it. I was like, all right, we're on track at yoga. Come on down, and this time bring these towards you, but wide for happy baby. So maybe you're clasping the feet, maybe you are clasping behind the knees or around the ankles. This is also sometimes a nice opportunity for adding a strap. It can really give us a lot more freedom. If you want to use a strap, you're putting it across the arches of the feet and then drawing down firmly. Yeah, and once you've found your edge, it's the breath into that shape that gives us the massage. Yeah, I figure yoga class is a really inexpensive massage that you're giving yourself. Beautiful. Notice if your shoulders are shrugging or your elbows are winging out, and please anchor instead. Makes a huge difference in this pose. All right. Would it feel good to play with half straddle, as we call it? I like doing that by bringing my elbows all the way to the floor so that I'm just easy and supported in my upper body as I start extending one leg out at a time. The other heel is coming towards the butt. This is a great time to talk to those quadriceps, folks, the front of the thigh muscles. Those front thigh muscles often don't engage fully. If you start watching people walking around, you'll see a lot of people never straighten their legs as they're striding. And we're supposed to, for the body to be even and strong and joint stable. Oh, plus this just feels so good in those tight legs. All right, we're gonna bring the heels together in butterfly. Shoulder heads anchoring down the back. Pressing away. Nice long inhale. Exhaling, if you'd like, add a little sit-up. Otherwise, just play briefly with bringing one foot towards your head and then the other. And this is just going to give you a little movement through hips and knees. And then releasing feet, placing wide for horse riding stance. There's no goal to go a certain height. This is just about giving your body, again, a variety of engagements, half motion. And on that theme, the next time your hips are down, ever so gently settle your right knee down and in towards the center line. And ever so gently switch. I say gently because this is getting into some of those deep connections in the inner thigh groin that absolutely affect our low back and things that wrap around to the hip. It's a great chance to notice if one side is different, if it's like really tight and the other is really loose. I hope you just feel strong and stable. Then if you would please walk the soles of your feet together and let the knees settle towards the floor. This is our relaxed butterfly. Sometimes this alone is a lovely stretch. I'm going to add a strengthening portion to it. Ever so slightly raise the hips off the floor. Again, kind of more of a hover. And we should now hopefully be feeling engagement in that deep low glute and inner thigh. And these are rooting muscles. So again, these are our muscles that allow us to lift or push and use the right stuff and not strain other stuff. All right, when you are done there, folks, we are going to bring knees to belly one more time. And we're going to do our little baby robot. We did this last week as well. How many of you felt that? Like the next day or day after, did you feel that low belly? Nuh-uh. Did I do that with you guys? I'm losing my mind. Yeah, they're saying no. All right, all the more reason I'm glad we're doing it this week. I cheated you last week. Only my Spring Valley students apparently got that. Okay, this is important, so I'm glad we're doing it. Little movements are better. Be small, okay? That's my main advice. So you've got your knees towards your belly. Go ahead and flex your feet. Take your legs parallel, but not touching, okay? And then you're going to anchor your low back. Push into the floor like you did for your compression breathing. Then slowly send your knees away from you until you think they're right above your hip joints. At that point, your low belly, that area between your hip bones, should be working very hard to keep your low back anchored. Try taking your fingers and poking there to say, hey, are you firing up? And then notice it's actually a fair bit of work just to breathe here and keep your back rooted, right? Excellent. But again, good work, small movements here. I'm gonna have my hands on my thighs to remind the one leg not to move. Because on your next exhale, you're just gonna take one knee away from your hand about 3 inches and hold and breathe. Training ourselves to breathe inside of physical effort. Awesome, good, let's switch. So that knee returns to neutral. You might relax completely on an inhale, by the way. Don't feel that you have to keep the back rooted the whole time. On your exhale, reroot. Take that other knee away a few inches, breathe. Practice not using the head. And at some point, you might relax those knees into the belly. Is there anybody who's not feeling work in that low belly? And you should feel it elsewhere too, because these other muscles are helping us stay rooted. Anybody not feeling it? Okay, great, I'll come connect you. Oh, yes, it's a lot of work keeping those legs parallel, isn't it? Yes, yes, in some of our bodies, that's gonna be the big work. Another great reason to do it, right? Okay, so those of you who've done this before know that you can add arms. If this is fairly new to you, I don't recommend it, because all you're gonna be doing is moving your limbs and your back is not gonna be getting the anchoring that we want. If you're doing arms, they're straight up from your chest like you're holding a loaf of bread. Inhale, exhale, root. Take one knee away from you, take the opposite arm, reaching for the wall behind, not the floor. So you want your arm karate chop straight. Notice if your back left a little bit, mine did, reroot it and come back to your starting position. Inhaling, exhaling, rooting. Take the other knee just a few inches. Again, small is big stuff here. And return, you might already be like, I need a break. I usually take a break after each round. Yeah, I see I'm not the only one, right? Feels really good to pause. Beautiful. Yeah, and again, it takes a certain kind of attention from us to stay present with something that's subtle. So I'm glad you're willing to do that. Awesome. When that feels all complete, please join me. We're going to come up to table pose. So if you like spinal rocking or however you want to get there, table pose, intelligent hands. Remember, if being on your wrists is bothersome, fists are a great alternative. I know I've got a couple people in here who that is their favorite way to go. Inhaling, draw the tailbone back, heart forward. It's really important we're not collapsing. We're like a beautiful suspension bridge. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone and let the head hang. Anybody else surprised by how much tension's in that upper back when you let the head hang? Yeah, it's amazing that we can walk around on this planet with all this tension. And we're so curious of the breath. Is there more? In your inhale, cow pose, if you're really patient, my hope is you'll get a last little bit of inhale up into the intercostals and the chest. On the exhale, you can think about sending your shoulder blades down the arms. We'll do one more like that. In cat back, holding, and then sending your ribs to the left and looking out over your right shoulder. And switching ribs right, looking out over the left shoulder. Coming back center, inhaling cow. Exhaling cat to your first downward facing dog. I often will walk my hands forward a little bit before I go into that. I just prefer a little more space between my hands and feet. Then a nice deep knee bend. And now please check that you're not hanging. You're not letting your chest hang. You're drawing your belly and especially that rib cage, that sternum xiphoid process into your back body. And it makes you really strong. Yeah, you guys look amazing. So you should feel, in fact, someone's already doing it, that you can lift one hand off the floor and then the other, just a little bit, and you feel your stability. Beautiful. We can also test lifting one foot off the floor at a time, and then we'll be coming out, I promise. Just a little lift, and don't go so high that your back arches. So, yep, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And release, child pose. Take the knees wide, settle the hips back by the heels. Lovely. What are you noticing as you breathe into your belly and it moves into your low back? Yeah, people get foot cramps in this pose. You are not alone. And that can be because there is just so much tension. I really noticed that after walking on concrete for a number of days in a row, that my calves and feet were so much more likely to cramp. Magnesium, folks, reminding me about that. Right. Yeah. All right. We're going to come into table pose and do a little more core work. So I know you guys know this one. Again, it's subtle. I know you've done it before, but it's so useful. And we get to practice refinement. So in the interest of refinement, here in your table, I'd like you to notice if you try to lift your hands, and again, if that hurts your wrist, don't do it, but you should be able to feel that your core is suspending you. And then slowly, just lift right hand, left knee, just a little, I'm hovering. And notice what happens. Does your neck tighten? Do you collapse? Do you shift sideways? Let's slowly switch. Breathing. Light connection, tip of the tongue. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to extend limbs. But before you do, I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. One, just make sure your head is straight forward at the spine. That's going to increase your core stability. Two, when you extend your leg, please don't go high. Just go straight back, flexing through the heel. Beautiful. Yeah, getting that leg straight. Nice work. Because again, remember I said a lot of times we don't actually get our knee completely straight. We want to practice that kind of hiya kick. Same thing with the arm. We'd like it to be karate chop straight, not a kind of floppy noodle. And we're going to do a couple more rounds. You know, if your wrists need a little break, please take one. Anchoring through that thumb and index finger. Looking good. See beautiful stability. And that rib cage often is the place that we tend to arch a little bit. What does it feel like on this last round if you take those limbs just a little to the outside? And I mean like 10 degrees. This is not a big movement. But you can feel how it ignites your core differently, right? Yeah, and that's awesome because so much of what we should be doing in daily life, like gardening or anything else, is not just forward path of motion. We should be able to handle, weight offset from our body and that kind of thing. All right, we're going to come into one more downward facing dog. As you're ready, from there we'll be getting to our feet. So those of you who are a little wrist weary at this point, we'll give you a break. Right away, think about compression breath, belly to spine. Those of you who would like to come out right now, you'll walk your hands back to ragdoll. Those of you who would like a little flow with me, inhaling, flow forward to your plank. I recommend knees down for your first plank of the day. And on your exhale, just a subtle elbow bend, chaturanga might be plenty. Otherwise, you could go even with the elbows. And then to the floor. Inhaling cobra, anchor pelvis, peel your head, heart forward. Exhaling, downward facing dog, work those heels towards the floor. Oofda, and then walk the hands back, ragdoll. Now your ragdoll might be with your feet directly below the hips, or you might take them wide. Breathing, letting the head go with gravity. Coming up out of a forward fold, it's so important to be healthy. I know we talked about this last week. So if you would join me, inhale, extend your hands, or plant your hands on your shin bones and extend the spine. So tailbone to head. Make sure that low belly is engaged up. Then exhaling, just sit your butt into a chair. And you should not feel any back pressure or shoulder pressure. If you do, we need to change some things. Sometimes it's because we've got our pelvis tilted back. You want a little extra foot and leg work and balance work, come up on the balls of the feet. Inhaling, root and rise, big glute squeeze. Exhaling, prayer hands. Tune in, think about anchoring through all four corners of the feet. Feel palm to palm. And I'm pretty sure we did this last week. We're gonna do it again just to see if it makes a little more sense. So I know some of you do this as a form of PT anyway, but do you guys remember when we did the kitchen towel thing? Okay, thank God, I'm not losing my mind. Good. So we're going to imagine that we have like a thin kitchen towel on the floor, and I'm going to take my toes and progressively try and bring that towel up under. I'm kind of just trying to gather it up, if that makes sense. It's funny, imagination is so powerful and so important. I remember the first time I imagined this, I was imagining like a thick, like a bath towel, and it just bothered me. Like I was like, where's it going? I mean, I was so literal. So I'm like, now I'm like, okay, just thin paper napkin. That's probably revealing too much to you about my crazy brain. I'm hoping you notice some of the engagement that's happening in the arches. Yes? Great. That's the foundation for our whole this. It's beautiful work. All right, so now as you're ready, plant the big toe, plant the other toes, spread them wide. And I'm gonna ask you to do a little traction with me. So I'm gonna have you squeeze your inner thighs like you've got a block between them again. And then I'm gonna have you press into the floor like you're trying to push your feet apart, but don't actually move them. And I'm gonna ask you to just do that a couple of times. So we're really talking to our inner and our outer to get them working together, right? Okay. I'm gonna ask you to find what feels like sort of just a neutral harmony communication between inner and outer. So we're engaged, but nothing's clenching. And we're gonna rotate our palms open, jet airplane. When you do this, again, be very careful. This is where we can have a habit of jutting those ribs forward, and we don't want to. Ribs draw back, upper arms draw in. As you're ready, we inhale and sweep slowly out and up. Think about sweeping out through your fingers. Maybe look and make sure your arms are not behind your body. Again, there's a real temptation to kind of overreach. Good. Notice what's happening under your tongue, by the way. I offer that only because it's something I notice a lot in my body, and other people have said it too, that when we're thinking about something or we're trying to accomplish something, we might habitually sandwich the tongue against the roof of the mouth. And we'd love to practice instead being calmly alert and present, peacefully. You might add your ujjayi, asking of the breath, is there more? If it feels good to bring your hands all the way together up here, maybe touching thumb and index finger, great. If it feels like it just bunges up your neck, don't do it. Maybe even bring your hands together in prayer hands, letting your shoulder head slide up. Just a few more. Again, neck remains soft, present and peaceful. One more long inhales, if it's all you would ever do, asking, is there more? Exhaling, resolving in prayer hands. Lovely. We're going to step sideways on our mat. Let's face that way. Big straddle. And we're just going to go side to side using the powerful anchoring of each foot. So we do not want to be rocking. If you're rocking your foot, if the blade of the foot's coming off, you've got pressure at your knee. We want to push. So you're pushing each foot, anchoring, sends you the other way. Beautiful, nice adjustments. Yes. Awesome. Notice how strong you feel too, right? Don't you feel like a little sticky tree frog? You can climb anything. All right, if it feels good in your body to go low, go for it. You could have your hands all the way on the floor. If that doesn't feel good, stay high with hands on thighs. And this good inner outer work that you're doing, so wonderful, stabilizing through the joints. Keeping the whole footbed rooted is key here. You can stay to one side for a deep stretch in that inner thigh. And then the other side. Lovely. And then we're going to come up together, bringing your hands to your thighs. Do a little inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Use that cat back to then come all the way up, resolve in your jet airplane arms. And if you take those arms, sliding them out a little bit and up to hug emoji, as I think of it. This is a wonderful posture for mood. So helping our energy, our sense of equanimity. If there's anything you want to be really present for today, this is a nice moment to intend that. So with as much support as you can, walk those feet in. So I kind of bring hands to hips usually. Roll those ankles out. That can be a lot of ankles, and that could strengthen in the long run. We're going to come into our mountain pose, front of the mat. And during mountain, we want to imagine again that little imaginary block, little inner thigh squeeze. We're going to come into a little warrior flow. Nice soft neck, light connection to the tongue. Inhale, sweeping out and up. Exhaling, prayer hands, lifting the left knee, standing crane, and we're going to hold here for a few breaths, bobbing on the waves. Notice if any shoulder hike happened, slide down. And if you're wobbling, great, it's a balancing pose. And slowly stepping back into your crescent lunge. We're talking about that low robot belly again. I want it to draw back into your lower back so you end up with a little bit of a bent knee. And you want to be on the ball of your back foot. You don't want to be flat on your foot if you can help it. If the balance is too much and you have to do that, fine, but don't bend the back knee then. So if you're on your ball of your foot, bend that back knee, good. Reaching up through the hands. Nice long inhale if you want to dip a little more. You could also add a reach of the heart up. And what I like is I get this stretch through that quad and hip flexor, you got it. Exhaling, prayer hands. We're going to open to warrior two. Again, I like doing it with hand on hip support. Plant that back foot. It's 90 degrees. We're going to use the power of that back foot to send the knee and hip forward. Please check that your front knee is tracking with your front foot straight ahead. Want to be straight ahead. Any little angle makes a difference here. And then don't let your knee come farther than your heel. So if your knee is coming farther than your heel, you have to scoot your heel forward. This is really important for your knee. Good. See if you can settle in a place of some work, some intensity, what we call your edge. Hang out there. Add those arms. Platter hands opening to the sky. Maybe you're looking behind, maybe you're looking to the side, wherever your neck wants to be. On a long inhale, exalted warrior, straighten the legs and reach up. I'm going to ask you to hold here because I'm going to have you check in with that front thigh muscle. In fact, everyone actually, I know said hold, but take your right hand, take it to your right thigh. And I want you to see what happens if you tighten the muscle, like you're trying to squeeze it towards the bone. And then if you relax it and just let your leg kind of be hyperextended. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, they're really different. I want the thigh muscle squeezing towards the bone. Reach up for that right back bone. Beautiful. Slowly forward to our lateral stretch. So that front knee bends now, elbow connecting with thigh. Good. Stacking the shoulders. Reaching that left arm beyond the head, or some of you prefer to the sky. If any of these bothers your neck or shoulder, make an angle adjustment. And I'm going to give you two choices to exit. One is to spin that arm like you're stirring something like a big pot And then you're gonna rotate your right foot to match the other one, and you rotate into your straddle. The second is, you've got to plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Option, if you're in straddle, do a little more side to side, or a little cow cat. If you're in downward dog, what do you crave? Do you want to hold? Do you want to flow or rest? You could go to child's pose. Inhaling to your plank, or maybe your flow is cow cat today. Exhaling chaturanga. Do not let those hips swag. Inhaling cobra or upward facing dog. Exhaling downward facing dog. And we're gonna all meet at the front in our mountain. Perhaps you want to walk or hop. Remember, when you do your root and rise, always get that lower belly involved. I know we've got a little heat going here, don't we? All right, it's good. That's part of what helps our system detox and cellularly recalibrate. Tune into that heart rate you've created, and let's find our flow on the other side. Inhaling, rooting through all four corners of the feet. Feel that inner thigh squeeze. Exhaling, prayer hands, left knee lifts, standing crane. Again, check in.
Right. Did we just do left?
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, we sure did. All I had to do is think about which thigh start. Here we go. Lift that right knee. Thanks, guys. I just wanted to see if you were
Sure.
tracking.
It's past April Fool.
Right. Bobbing on the wave of your breath. I think balancing poses are one of the most interesting places where we notice our weird habits, like tightening the neck or the tongue to help us balance. Does not help. Slowly step back, crescent lunge. Again, ball of the back foot. So another way to think of this, I want to draw my left hip bone back and my right hip bone forward until I feel my inner thighs kind of squeeze, right? If you have to be flat on that back foot, remember, don't bend the knee. If you're on the ball, you can bend the knee with me. Notice, and are you arching and tilting that tailbone back? Can you connect? If you'd like to add that little heart reach, that little stretch through the front, go for it. It's like you're reaching your knee and your heart in two opposite directions. You can always just stay neutral and enjoy the thigh work. To transition, again, you might bring hands to hips, plant that back foot 90. This is where I really want everyone to take some time with their back foot, because I want planting in the underneath the big toe as well as the pinky. And a lot of times people will just let the weight roll to the back foot, which means the pressures of the ankle. It should be just like when we do intelligent hands, straight down. Yeah. And use the power of that back leg. Notice what's going on. Notice your front foot, it needs to be tracking straight forward. Really important for our knee health. And when you're ready, adding those arms. It's in these moments of stillness with breath that our brain can get very fussy. Am I still here? Inhaling, extending both legs, reaching up. Notice that experience, and then let's check in with that left thigh and see what ours did. Did you just hyperextend the knee, or did you squeeze the thigh muscles towards the bone? And if you're not sure, again, take that hand and you should be able to make those thigh muscles kind of jump. Reaching up for that right glute. I usually look down because my head appreciates it. You can even kind of counter reach arm to arm. Good, let's find our lateral stretch. Elbow to thigh. Stack that right shoulder back over the left. Think about externally rotating thighs. You guys are looking really good. I know I'm giving you a lot of micro detail today. How is your neck? Can you find a more comfortable position? And how would you like to transition from this pose? Do you want to swirl the world with that right arm, move to straddle, or would you like to move to your downward facing dog? Does not matter which way you are facing. Last opportunity for dog series if you would like it. Again, you can also hold downward dog or rest in child's pose. Inhaling to your plank, exhaling chaturanga. Remember, any little shrug of the arms or of the shoulders or wing of the arms takes us out of our core. Yeah, those of you who did dog series, maybe do it one more time. Just check in on that. When you come into your plank, anchor those shoulder heads down. Make sure those upper arms are in towards the body. I don't mean they have to be squeezing, touching all along, but you feel that inner line. And then as you do your chaturanga, again, there's no lift of the shoulders at all, none. Good, forearm plank is a beautiful alternate and a great pose unto itself. Thanks for reminding me. And come on out. Ah, lovely. Please resolve in a resting pose, whether it's child's pose or ragdoll. Just know that those resting breaths are so powerful. They remind our nervous system, I am whole, I am well, I am safe. And if we're able to return to that massaging breath, it's super powerful. Oh. We're going to come into forearm plank because I was reminded of how great that pose is. Part of what I love about forearm plank is because it is literally just a held pose, there's very little to distract you, right? You're not trying to go through a movement like we do in dog series, warrior series. So you can really scan your own body, and I'll come around as well and see if I can help with any little micro engagements that supports our body here and stability and strength. So first, finding that xiphoid process, that's that place where the ribs come up together into our sternum plate, our breastplate, and we want that drawing into the back body. Yeah. Then think about, if you're on your feet, think about squeezing the thighs towards each other as if you had a block between them and getting those quadriceps to fire up towards the sky. Once you're there, think about getting long from the feet through the crown. Notice if your head feels a little dropped and try to bring it up. Having the head dropping will actually take us out of our best posture. Looking good. Gosh, you guys look strong. I love it. Good, you really got that inner thigh squeeze going. I see it. When you feel complete, come out to your belly and enjoy a moment of rest, just you and the mat, your breath, maybe a sip of water. As you breathe, I hope you feel the belly expanding. Notice the breath massaging into your low back. Would it feel good to just kind of rock the hip bones? So rocking one hip bone and then the other kind of towards the mat. Would it feel good to bend the knees and gently windshield wiper the legs? I say gently because, again, that works with low back, and winging them around can actually be very stabilizing. So we're going to come from here into one of our most stabilizing postures for the back body. We're going to be playing with jet airplane and our pelican, as I've come to call it, the one where we do hug emoji arms. Both of them stabilize and work the muscles through the back that are so key for our rib cage and shoulders. So first, anchoring through the pelvic area, pubic bone and hip bones. Palms facing the floor, big shoulder circle until you feel those joints and shoulder blades land down, like you're trying to put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Once again, we're kind of engaging our upper arm a little towards the body. I don't mean that we're trying to touch our arms to the body. On your first breath and flight, it might be just bringing the arms back behind you, like you're trying to touch the wall behind. Yeah, and exhaling, you might soften completely before inhaling and flying again. We're going to be here for a number of rounds. Yeah, I'm hoping as you progress, you feel a shoulder blade sandwich. So good. Sorry, no, you found a little more, it's awesome. Now, would it feel good in your body in your next extension? If you haven't already, to add the chest lift of the head and maybe start sweeping one arm forward, one arm back. And if you're doing this, just nice and slow, again, so we can listen, what is in my shoulder joint today? You guys look really powerful and peaceful. No one seems to be overdoing, but it seems like you're in the right alignment to really feel that work of the upper and mid back. And of course, your glutes are firing like crazy, right? And when you feel complete relax, turn your head to the other side. So we're going to come into our quadricep stretch, and some of you might prefer standing. You're welcome to come to standing. Otherwise, if you're doing the laying down version, you're on your belly, please bring one forearm across the front of the mat. Make sure you anchor your tailbone completely before you slowly reach back for that other ankle. Once you've got a hold of it, bring the bent knee in towards the straight leg. Let the shoulder blade wing in towards the spine, and you can rest your forehead on the forearm if you'd like. I always feel like I can breathe better. As you're breathing, noticing, finding there. If this crimps or puts pressure on your back at all, we either don't want to do it, or sometimes just adding a strap and giving you a little more length will make the difference. That looks amazing. Yeah. Send one more breath in there. Sometimes we, forget the deepest breath, and yet it's so powerful. When you come on out, release. If it feels good, you can flex your toes underneath and kind of straighten that leg. If you're standing, sometimes I just kick and and then we'll find the other side. And please anchor the pelvis, so big glute squeeze. Nice. Another kind of little add-on that creates stability is you could flare your toes. So if you kind of flare your yoga toes away from the ball of the foot, that will ignite the stabilizing muscles through the joints in a nice way.
Can't really add stretch.
Okay, you feel the addition to that. Thank you, that's nice, because I do in my body. Okay, great. And it's such a great reminder of how connected, right? The whole kinetic chain, that's why it's called that. You guys look great. And send a couple more deep exploratory breaths. Curious. And release. And asking you to notice, would it feel amazing to come in one more forearm plank?
Sure.
Excellent, yeah, sure.
Why not?
Exactly. Remember, you can come from your belly or from, when you're in the table. So it's however you want to do it. Shoulder heads anchored down. Pay special attention to that xiphoid process. Yeah. Nice. Really feeling that strength. Roar. Yeah, it's like, all of these postures here, the forearm plank, the jet airplane, we're going to be doing the pelican in a moment, they all give us a chance to wake up this upper back and mid back, which tends to be overstretched and weak. Stay only as long as it feels good. If you're ready for a little more intensity right at the end, go ahead and release one foot from the floor and then the other, firing it up. Yeah. There you go. And release. Ooh. And we will do one more expression into that pelican arms. It is different than the jet airplane arms. So when we move those arms up to here, we're going to be getting more work across the actual deltoid and the back of the shoulder joint. And I'm hoping it'll even feel a little zingy, that you'll get a little hot by holding it. So just know this, you don't have to extend the spine in the pose. So if you're like, no, that bothers my back, stay with your head on the floor and just reach the arms up. And And they don't need to come hyper high to get the work. But I do have my fingers straight out from my shoulder joints, so I'm not back in gyro plane. There you go, straight out from the shoulder joints. Yeah. Good, and you can extend the spine if you like, but again, you don't have to get the shoulder work. You might release and then come back in, and then you might be done. Your choice. Maybe you want to play with one arm forward, one arm back. Maybe like a brief expression in Superman with the arms straight forward. What else is your body craving? We're going to be coming into our reclined pigeon for a hip stretch before we finish with a little bit of breath work and yogic sleep. If you're craving more dog series or downward dog or child's pose, any other shape, please go there. And yoga ideally is a massage you're giving yourself, so that inner listening is so key. When you feel ready to join me in reclined pigeon, you're simply coming flat on your back again, and planting the feet like you would for bridge. Crossing right ankle onto left thigh, heel flex. And you might take a moment to just kind of wag that right knee away from you and towards you. It just brings a little synovial fluid and range of motion into the hip. And then, anchoring your core, you can hopefully lift your left leg. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. And then I'm hugging the right knee as tightly towards my chest as I can. Shoulder heads anchoring down, no wings, no shrugs. Deep belly breath, breath wave. Is there more? Sending that leg towards the center line, sending that right knee towards the center line, you might find a different and deeper stretch. Sometimes people like clasping the foot and playing with that. In your own time, we'll switch. I find that replacing the floor leg is more stabilizing for the back. And as you're ready, we'll take left ankle on the right thigh, heel flex, that stabilizes knee, and then just a little wag. Core anchoring before raising that right leg, hugging the left knee or foot. Sending it towards the center line. Anybody discovering treasure? Yeah, right through that piriformis is a common place. Some of us will feel it also into like IT band hamstring area. It's one of the great benefits of this stretch, getting those things out of their forward path of motion. And again, in your own time, releasing. You might straighten that leg, give it a little counter shape. Then I'll invite you to find your resting shape. If you need the block under the sacral triangle first or anything else, of course, go for it. Otherwise, common resting shape, of course, just corpse pose. But I find that if I do that without something under my knees or under my back, my back gets really tight. Anybody wish they had a bolster? I'd be happy to bring you one. So if you have a bolster, you might prop it up on one end of it up on a block. You could also be in a resting pose on your side. You can take your legs straight up to the ceiling on a wall. You could be on your belly. And I'm coming around and offering the shoulder press again this morning. Is there anybody who would like me to skip them?
We can do each one.
Okay, you'll take twice. Well, yes, and sometimes if people are up on a bolster, I do instead some touch at the base of the skull instead of the press. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for your intense attention inward. And I hope that you will feel the deep benefit of it as you move on throughout your week. For now, please let yourself settle with gravity. It's as if gravity just got a little bit stronger. I invite you to come into just a couple of breath blocks. So the next time you exhale, empty it and hold it out. And it's just a soft emptying. It's not like compression breathing. How many ways can you soften around the holding? When you need to breathe, inhale and hold in, internal breath lock. Can I soften around this? Go ahead and do one more round before settling in for your yogic sleep, or perhaps you love the meditative quality of breath locks and want to continue. Please begin to gently expand your breath. Let each inhale be a little love note to your body, maybe to particular parts of the body that have been in any kind of challenge or disharmony. You might choose to wake from your practice with some gentle stretching, moving, rotating of wrists and ankles, opening the jaw, squinching up the face, opening it wide. Sighing breaths or yawns, fake or real. I thank you so, so much for getting to the mat today. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace. Namaste. Please take your time journeying back into your day. It's wonderful to kind of relish the meditative quality of coming out of our yogic sleep. I hope you have a beautiful day being you, and I hope I get to see you on the mat again. Thanks for being here.
The sun was out. Yes.